how big of a get is this for the Yankees, and what does this mean for the other teams in baseball by the Yankees getting Benintendi?
Well, number one, it fills a need for the Yankees because they needed outfield. Yes, they have Judge, who's the best player in baseball right now. But as far as like other outfielders go, they have Joey Gallo, who swings a Swiss cheese bat, can't hit anything. Aaron Hicks, who's on the downside of his career and still can be somewhat productive, but is more of a defensive outfielder than he is an offensive outfielder. And then you got Giancarlo Stanton, who's at this point more of a DH in his career to kind of save his body because he can't stay on the field healthy. So this is a big get for the Yankees. Now, the big question is going to be whether he can play in Toronto if they have a playoff series in Toronto, or if down the stretch, if there's some meaningful games in Toronto that he has to play. That could be an issue. But you're talking about a guy that's won Gold Gloves. You're talking about a guy that he hits the ball well. He this season alone is 26% above average in weighted runs created, which is like an offensive measure of how well his at-bats produce runs. And so for the Yankees, got richer. They got probably one of the better positional players not named Juan Soto that they didn't have to empty their top 10 farm system to get Benintendi. And so it's a great move for the Yankees. Just fantastic. Yeah. And it's even better that they're playing the Yankees in the first series with Benintendi.
It's hilarious. Just to clarify for fans who are just questioning what you're talking about with the whole Toronto thing, Benintendi is not vaccinated against COVID-19, and so obviously Canada has their own laws, and they are not letting anyone who's not into the country, and so that is why he has not been able to go to Toronto. And just like you said, it'll be interesting to see what happens with Benintendi if the Blue Jays somehow get into the postseason and end up having to face the Yankees. That would be a very interesting conundrum for the Pinstripes.
Look, they're getting into. Both of these teams are going to get into the playoffs. They both right now, I think, are over 50% as far as like getting into the playoffs. Yeah, they have the Blue Jays right now, according to Fangraphs, have a 96.2% chance of making the playoffs. So they're getting in the playoffs. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Unless some kind of like the world falls in, the Blue Jays and the Yankees will both be in the playoffs. The question will be whether they're playing each other.
Right. Well, so yeah, obviously a big get for the Yankees. You're talking about a guy that won second to Judge in AL Rookie of the Year voting. He's already won a World Series with the Boston Red Sox. He did that in his second year, and everything you said about what he's doing this year at the plate. He's at a career best 320 with whole big old OPS as well, 788 through 93 games this season. It's absolutely a big get for New York, but it also apparently blocked a Tiger from possibly going to New York, right?
Well, it's all conjecture, right? It's all musings from the mind of AJ. But I always thought that Grossman would be a potential fit for the New York Yankees. Not great for us and can't hit left-handed anymore for whatever reason this year. But with Gallo's struggles, why would you not put a guy like Robbie Grossman in there who can hit from both sides of the plate? He can at least work an at-bat and doesn't have, 103 strikeouts and 230 at-bats? Like, Grossman would have been a good fit and a much cheaper fit, but I think that because of this trade, it does affect the Tigers in the sense that Grossman will be a Tiger for the rest of the year, which is what it is. They just got to make a decision on him.
The Yankees can still call up Al and just offer him like a pencil sharpener.
Basically, yeah. Yes, you're correct. They could, and truthfully, I think Al would probably take that deal.
See?
Wait, hang on. So you're telling me the Tigers are sellers this year? We're not buyers?
Yeah, Tigers are definitely sellers, guys. If you listen to anything AJ Hinch says, he goes, you want to be the team acquiring players, not the one giving them away. And the way we've played, we'll be in the position to give them away. So, yeah, the Tigers are going to have a little bit of a different look come next week. Maybe even after this weekend, because Toronto's a definite landing spot for some of those relievers. They got the 24th best bullpen in all of baseball right now, so some guys might not be making the trip back home.
Well, so that's what I wanted to ask, because I want to know who's worth getting on Detroit. That's not a pitcher. Now, obviously, our pitching staff they want to shred it because we actually have talent there that's producing. Our talent on the field, besides that, in the positions, are not producing as much this year. So who can we predict or we're going to be losing in the next week?
I think for sure 100%. Is this just non-pitchers?
You can throw pitchers
just
in there
Tigers
well.
in
If
general.
you have any non-pitchers, that'd be great to know as well. But I assume our pitching staff is going to be decimated.
Look, the three names that potentially as position players could be traded would be Grossman, Scope, and Barnhart. Grossman and Barnhart are both free agents at the end of the season, so they'd be very cheap. And when I say this, we're talking about pencil sharpeners and maybe a pencil cup coming back for them. Like, that's the type of return you're going to get for these guys because they're not producing offensively. Barnhart doesn't even have a single home run this year. They're both free agents at the end of the year, so those could be like expiring contract guys that maybe a contender wants, like a backup catcher who's really good defensively but just is a hole in the lineup at this point. The other name would be Jonathan Scope, and the only other potential name that I think could be tossed around in a trade would be Candelario, but that's going to be determined on what he does these first two games in Toronto, because he swung a very good bat against San Diego last week. He had 8 RBIs in 3 games, had 3 home runs. He swung the bat well, but do teams want to pick up on that 3-game stretch? Very small sample size. Those are the only positional players that could even be probably talked about in a trade. Unless you're talking about a huge blockbuster for like a Juan Soto, then the whole cupboard is open at that point, right? Pitching-wise, for sure, Michael Fulmer will not be a Tiger after August 2nd. There's no two ways about it. Michael Fulmer will be on a contender pitching in the bullpen come August 3rd. And the reason for that's twofold. When we talk about value, right, we talk about value specifically from what we're going to get back as the Tigers. But if you look at it from the other team's perspective as far as like a value buy, you cannot get more bang for your buck than Michael Fulmer because you only have him until the end of October. He's a free agent after this season. And yes, his performance is good, but teams are not going to pay a high price for just a 3-month rental. So expect, if Michael Fulmer is traded, for Detroit Tigers fans to be like, Al sucks. What in the world is going on? What a terrible return, right? But it's to be expected at this point that you're not going to get a major haul for Michael Fulmer. You will get a major haul for a guy like Gregory Soto, who has 3 years of team control left after this and throws triple digits from a left-handed pitcher. Like, that you could ask for the moon and probably get somewhere close to it, but those are probably the two most likely to go. There's another guy, Chafin, another guy who's got, both of those guys have 1.5 years of control left, and then obviously the big name being tossed around right now is Tarek Skubal, which it would take the moon and probably Mars to get Skubal, given what he is owed and what he's done and how much control he has left. So,
hey, Ryan Griffin here. Thank you so much for watching today's episode of Griffin and Bass. Be sure to give us your thoughts in the comments below. Remember to click the bell to receive the latest notifications from DSN and subscribe for breaking news, community blogs, polls, contests, and other content.